And so I hope my feet and bottom of my pants don't show because they're full of yogurt.
Stop.
Today's guest, Michelle Margaux. What is an unapparent truth of parenting?
It's like having a limb that's supposed to be attached to me, leaving it by itself to just try and survive.
Before you got pregnant, did you ever have a fear of losing yourself in motherhood?
Nobody's ever asked my husband, nobody's ever asked Francisco, like, do you have a concern of losing yourself to fatherhood? So everything that I do is enhanced when my child is there with me. Like, I want to.
It's not enjoyable without your kid.
Game night, I can't let a child get in the way of my competition and my competitive spirit.
Were there any fears that came with that transition in your workplace, per se?
Just never being the same again.
You know, he calls me, he's like, yeah, I'm about to go, get a facial, like, on the road. And I'm
You're
just like, one of us is going to have glowing skin, and you can imagine who's who.
And he's like, you dress very fancy, and people assume you don't know baseball.
Because the world is a better place when the patriarchy is not taking over, right? Because it harms men just as much as it harms women. This is in English. Le voy a contar en español. Okay. So Koa's at this stage where he prefers to play with his food. So more of it goes on the floor, on my clothes, than he ingests. And so I hope my feet and bottom of my pants don't show because they're full of yogurt. Because he threw his entire bowl of yogurt at me. So that's fun. Abuela is so funny. When she tries to feed him, she'll make sure I know she's giving him a little piece. And she'll go, Mama, es chiquito. And I'll be like, how small? And it'll literally be like the teeniest crumb. And I'm like, okay, you're good. So we don't have to worry about Amapola giving him something that can choke him because she ensures it is the smallest possible piece she can share with him. I hear a metronome. Is that fine? PTSD from like my mom telling me, keep the beat, Katia. And I'm like, you don't know anything. True story. My mom would then use her chest as a metronome and it would annoy the crap out of me. And I'm like, Mom, you're the one not keeping the beat. And she's like, I am keeping the beat. You are rushing. And my Suzuki violin days bring back many beautiful memories, but this is not one of them. So you will see, as will be customary in this new season, that we're going to have a few different quotes here, and they all will signify something probably very profound for me. This is something I think I said pretty often last season. Slowly making the world worthy of my children is today's quote, and it's what I try to live by. It's basically the premise of my entire show, not just here on the podcast, but just the values I want to instill in my children and how I lead by example. That's sort of always at the forefront, and the things that I want to spend my time on and talk about and promote, and just all of the activism I try to partake in is directly tied to the kind of world I want to leave for my children. And so that's sort of the theme, like, what am I doing to actively make the world worthy of our children, because they're the ones inheriting this world. And so, it's better to spend our time trying to make it to where we feel that they are inheriting something that I try to positively impact for them, for their sake, so that they have maybe less of a mess to clean up later. And so today's conversation, moving on to that, because I'm so excited to share about Michelle. I will read her bio to not butcher anything. Michelle Margaux is an Emmy Award-winning sports reporter and host with over a decade of experience, covering both news and sports across the country, including stops in Houston, Tampa, San Diego, and Corpus Christi. With over a decade in the industry, Michelle has built a reputation for storytelling that goes beyond the game, bringing a thoughtful and human lens to the athletes, moments, and communities she covers. Now a reporter for SNY, she continues to carve out space in a fast-paced, male-dominated industry with both credibility and heart. Off camera, Michelle is a mother to a young son and a wife to her husband, Justin, navigating the realities of building a family while sustaining a demanding career in sports media. A self-described extroverted introvert, she finds joy in deep conversations, time outdoors, traveling, and meaningful connection, on and off the field. So in this episode, Michelle opens up about the quiet negotiations of modern motherhood, balancing a high visibility career in sports media with the deeply personal realities of raising a child. navigating partnership, identity, and the constant tension between ambition and presence. I hope you guys enjoy the show. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Unaparent. Today's guest, Michelle Margaux, is a friend of mine, but today I get to interview her, even though I'm usually seeing her interviewing people. Hi, Michelle. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It's such a privilege to even, have these conversations with you, let alone be a part of such an amazing podcast that I love so much.
Thank you. Well, we, as tradition, start with a question that I want to ask you. What is an unapparent truth of parenting that you have discovered since becoming a mom?
So the best way to describe being a parent to me is like opening up my chest and taking my beating, bleeding heart out of my body and like handing it to someone and just being like, hey, be careful, don't drop it. Like that's the vulnerability that comes along with parenting that it was just not apparent to me the way that it is now. Like I just never expected to have that kind of vulnerability the second my child was born.
Yeah. I mean, they tell you, I feel like you hear a lot growing up, like there's no love like a mother's love. And you truly can't really comprehend that until you become a parent, especially a mom. My husband likes to say that the connection for him as a dad wasn't as immediate, obviously, as we're the ones carrying the babies. And we have, I don't know if it's partly just our maternal natures, but definitely biologically, when we're the ones, we're gestational parents and we're carrying, and we kind of feel that immediately, that connection. And then the moment they're born, it's just like we did the literal definition of labor of love. And so I think as women and mothers who have birthed our own babies, it's just a different level that you really can't even explain.
It's like cutting off like I said, it's like having a limb that's supposed to be attached to me, but then like leaving it by itself to just try and survive. Like that's how I feel, and it's. I've gotten better at compartmentalizing, but it's that is a level of vulnerability that is an unapparent truth of parenting that I just never thought would be this intense.
Yeah. I mean, and as a working mom, you kind of have to experience it, right? I've at least had the privilege of being able to kind of stay with my babies without having to leave them for big portions of time. They tag along if I have to go to appointments many times, and sometimes, they can't be in appointments. And so I have to leave them, and it's always just so hard, even if it's like an hour of me going to, a medical appointment and coming home. It's like I feel, as you say, like a piece of me is just missing, and it's so stressful to just because it's one of those things that you can't really delegate to someone else and you're going to feel completely at ease with, because no one's going to take care of your child the way you are, right? Even though you have the most competent, trustworthy people around, it's still that much harder. So, this transitions me into kind of one of my next questions for you, as someone who is, a professional in your career, and you're, definitely invested in building your career, rightly so. So before you got pregnant, did you ever have a fear of losing yourself in motherhood?
Yes, and I'll get to that. But quickly going back to leaving your child, something that I did not understand and did not expect from myself is I always thought, like, when I have my kid, I'm going to have no problem going on date nights. I'm going to have no problem leaving my kid at home, like me time, us time, yay. Everything, but it's not even about having control. It's like everything that I do is enhanced when my child is there with me. Like I want
it's not enjoyable without your kid, right?
It's so fun experiencing those things through the lens of my son's eyes. I do have one exception though. I don't know if you could guess it, because I know this is a big part of my life, but like game night, I can't let a child get in the way of my competition and my competitive spirit. So like if my kid is in the realm of like the vicinity of when I'm doing game night, it's like game night's first, kid is out. Sorry, I cannot lose. I cannot have distractions. But you're someone that takes your kids everywhere. Like we've gone to sushi at like 10 p.m. and your children are like there, ready to hang. so well behaved at the sushi bar. It's very, very impressive. What was your question? Sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh, losing myself to motherhood.
Yeah.
So I did not have that fear until other people told me that I couldn't do both. Like so many people were like, "Oh, you can't do both." And like you're never going to want to work again once you have kids, and you don't lose that drive. Like you don't lose that ambition. You don't lose those goals. And so like maybe that changes or evolves for some people, and I reserve the right to be able to change my mind if I decide that later. But like if nobody had ever said anything to me, I don't think it would have been a concern to begin with. But something that I feel like is worth noting is like nobody's ever asked my husband, nobody's ever asked Francisco, like, do you have a concern of losing yourself to fatherhood? So, you know, it was just not a thought until other people made it a thought for me.
I mean, and that's just like, that is very telling of, right, the society we live in, obviously. But it is, I think there's some truth to, you can have it all, but not all at once, right? And that's something that we were not told, right? We've always been told, oh, you can do it all. And that is the expectation that society holds women to, especially mothers. We, in the eyes of society though, we're never doing everything right? We're failing in some place. We're either failing as parents because we work too much, or we're failing as professionals because our minds are with our kids, or we have to miss because appointments and responsibilities of children, because really kids they sort of become the center of your world, despite maintaining a career, a profession, whatever it is. But we can't be 100% at all times in every realm, right?
100%.
And that's something that, even though that's the truth for fathers, that pressure and responsibility and the constant not being enough or failing at one of your jobs, it's not really present, right? And I've had female athletes on the show where we kind of discussed this a little bit, but this was kind of early on. But as a woman, as a mother in this realm of sports as well, I'm sure you experience this kind of double standard quite often. How is that experience for you?
I do, I just don't care. Like now I'm just doing my own thing. Like, I'm not blazing any trails. There have been women who worked and had children for decades. But I really just try not to think about it. I'm just kind of doing right now. I really am. Like, I'm not thinking too much about it.
Yeah. Is there something that you thought motherhood would be like versus what it actually is like?
So honestly, like, I'm just really proud of being a mom. I never thought that I wouldn't be, but like, it's a sense of pride that you just can't possibly have until you've gone through the process of doing it yourself. And it's not lost on me that not everybody who wants to be a parent gets to be one. So I don't want to discredit those who want to be a parent, but there is just a sense of camaraderie amongst parents, both male and female, that I just never expected. And then when I got pregnant, like, so many of my male coworkers, women and men, just wanted to help, wanted to talk about their experience. So to have that common ground is something that is just a group that you're a part of, that you'll always be a part of once you're a part of it. And I guess that is unexpected.
Yeah. I definitely found a community as soon as I became a mom. Like, at first I lacked it because I didn't have a lot of close people who had become moms in recent years, but it was such a game changer once I had that community of fellow moms who were experiencing, similar phases as I was. And it made me definitely feel a lot less isolated in the experience, that it can feel very isolating despite having a lot of, help or privilege or access. Because a lot of the things that I've, experienced, I had postpartum depression and all that at first, right? Which I think informed so much of my early motherhood experiences. And that's always hard because you were a new mother was born with the baby, right? So it's like becoming a new person, but getting to that point of acceptance of who you are, what your priorities are. It was hard for me, and I didn't have a career to get back to the way, you did. But that being said, before you announced your pregnancy, were there any fears that came with that transition in your workplace per se?
A little, but like not really, to be honest. Like it was a risk I was willing to take. And I don't regret it. Like my son is the most important thing in the world to me. So, you know, with any job or with any life, whether you have a job or not, there's always going to be risks associated with having a kid, or even before you have a kid. Again, it's like the most vulnerable thing on the planet. Getting pregnant, even before you have a child, it is the most vulnerable thing to do. I can't stand by it enough. Like I'm pretty open, I'm pretty direct. You know, most people know how I feel at any given time, but there's no vulnerability like that.
Yeah.
So I think professionally aside, like that was a fear. Just never being the same again.
Yeah. And a part of me is like, yeah, I was never the same again after that. And that's a good thing. I evolved to being, a better version of myself. That's what motherhood does to one.
I can't imagine, I mean, feeling isolated the way that a wife or, a mother who has a partner that's gone all the time. Like, I cannot imagine doing that. That's just a different breed.
Yeah, well, thank you. But I mean, obviously, I'm not the only partner of a person who travels a lot for work. But it definitely is an added challenge because when you're experiencing, parenthood, you hope to have a partner to experience it with. And I'm blessed to have an incredible one. But because of the nature of, his job, I've had to reframe it to where I used to kind of feel like, like I don't have his support. I don't have him around to help with the kids. But now I see it in like, I get to experience all of these aspects of my children, and he misses out on a lot of it that I know he would want to be present for, right? He's one of those dads that he wants to be involved, and he doesn't want to miss any of, their first steps or their first words. And they miss it all the time. They're on the road. They don't see their first steps. They don't hear their first words. There's so many firsts that they miss out on. And I've grown to feel for that, even though the other part of me that's kind of like by myself with the kids is very overwhelmed and overstimulated constantly. I have that also notion of, okay, I can also feel really, empathetic, that they don't get that, even though it's hard.
That is a very positive reframing that I feel like a lot of us could model after.
Well, it's not always easy. I do lash out at him sometimes when he doesn't deserve it. But, that's heightened emotions and ADHD and just the overstimulation and hormones and being touched out, from constantly having a child on me at all times. It's a lot, and then like, he calls me. He's like, yeah, I'm about to go, get a facial like on the road. And I'm just like great. I'm actually I like genuinely am happy for you, and I'm glad you can at least do this. One of us is gonna have glowing skin and not gonna age as rapidly as the other one of us. You can imagine who's who.
You are stunning, and you know that.
Oh, girl, thanks. But yeah, so the logistical side of that, is one of, I think, the unapparent truth for me of parenthood that I probably I couldn't really comprehend the level and the depth of what that would be for me. They say, oh, it comes with the territory, you signed up for it. And it's like, yes, but until you become a parent, you don't really know everything you're signing up for, especially having that, partner that's traveling a lot. And for your schedule, you work late nights too, right? And so how is that with you being the one out, working, like you put your kid to bed, you do bedtime before you leave, your husband's home. Like, how does that work for you guys?
Well, essentially I'm on Francisco's schedule, right? Yeah. Like especially during baseball season, not during baseball season, then I'm on NFL, NHL, NBA schedule. If you saw the logistics of our everyday and our joint Google Calendar, like you would sprint the other way. For context, so my husband works in medicine. He works days. He works Monday through Friday. He can never work remotely. Neither can I, but I work nights. I work weekends. We are two ships passing in the night. He does the nighttime routine. He gets to put my son to bed every night. I do the morning routine. I wake up my kid every day. So like we don't really, we have our lanes and we don't really know how to do the other person's jobs, and it's quite funny because it's like, he's like, you're doing that wrong. Like, that's not how we do bedtime. And I'm like, oh, I am so sorry. And then like opposite, he'll go wake him up on like a Saturday morning. And I'm like, no. First, no. Order of operations wrong. Because we're just so used to our roles. But the 2 ships passing a night, like, it's wonderful because we get so much one-on-one time with our son. But so much of our correspondence throughout the day is logistics, right? Like, we are constantly updating each other on baby things so that when the other person is taking over, they have context. Like, it makes it really hard for us to hang out as a family, the 3 of us, because when one person's at work, the other person's at home. Like, it's just hard for all 3 of us to hang out. Most dual income families, they both go to work at the same time, 9 to 5. At the end of the day, they come home, they spend time as a family for a couple hours, then the kids go to bed, and then it's just them. That is not our reality at all.
Right.
But we make it work. So
you do. I mean, and that's something that most people probably don't even have to think about, like, so just hearing that, I feel for you in the sense that like having that time with your partner is just, it's so needed and it's so special and it's so rare. But at least, when Francisco's home, it's like, okay, we're a family. Typically, right now, I left the poor guy doing rehab by himself, and I'm in Florida with our kids. But yes, typically when he's home, we can all be a family. But that one-on-one time is rare.
Yeah.
We have a wait till Vale starts like chatting it up, then it's even more rare because then it's like we can't even have a conversation.
Yeah.
we're being interrupted or eavesdropped on or constantly be like, okay, so I need to speak. Let me speak. And it's, like,
I feel like I know exactly which child you're talking about, by the way.
Oh, yeah. But, now we have 2 bilingual verbal ones. And so once it's 3 fully verbal ones, I mean, we're going to be like, all right, we're actually leaving the house for our date nights when we can. Because, yeah, it's tough. So I want to get back to some of the deep questions. How has your experience raising a boy shaped, I don't know, how you see yourself and how you see yourself as a mom, like raising a son?
I really want him to have depth. I ask questions for a living, and so do you. And the most thoughtful, deep answers are always the best. I hope he stands up for what's right. Like, it's usually easier to stand by when there's, injustice, but that's just tacit compliance. And as a man, he's going to have a voice that's actually heard. So it's important, for him to know that he needs to stand up when it's time to stand up. It's actually funny. So I know I've told you this story, but there's a very reputable manager that I once worked with. And he called me in his office. And he's like, come in, like, sit down for a sec. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what did I do? And I sit down and he's like, I know you have a target on your back. I'm like, what? What do you mean I have a target on my back? Why? And he's like, you dress very fancy. You dress nicely. Like, you put a lot of thought into your, what you're wearing. And people assume you don't know baseball. They assume you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, wonderful, great. And he's like, but I know that's not true. I know you know baseball. Like, I see it, like, whatever. And that is just one thing that, like, my son will not know any differently. Like, I will raise an open-minded son who has a mom that dresses exactly the way that she wants, unapologetically. It won't even be something that crosses his mind. Like, he'll be so used to his mom in a cupcake dress talking pitch sequencing in the living room. Like, I want to raise him to be non-judgmental, especially based on appearance.
Yeah. And, a little feminist, that's what we all want from, I think, even people who don't realize it. You really do want feminist sons because the world is a better place when the patriarchy is not taking over, right? Because it harms men just as much as it harms women, right? And so just having empathetic, kind kids is the basis of it all, right? And so, I mean, has excuse my French, badass mom. So hopefully he'll realize it, and I'm sure he will. And yeah, usually the best men have, I usually say they have sisters, so maybe he'll have a sister, but if not, he definitely has an amazing role model as a mom. So yeah, he's got that going for him.
With Freudian theory, I believe in the fact that you usually go after someone that's somewhat like your parent of the opposite sex. And so I'm curious, I'm like, is he gonna, like, who's he gonna end up with if he, it's gonna be interesting. He's 18 months, so I have some time to figure it out. But
yeah, I think
those are the things I think about as a boy mom.
Yeah, I mean, and he's got a pretty good dad too, I think. So I feel like the influence dads have is it can't be overstated how important it is also to have that male father figure that is an example of how to lead with empathy and kindness.
Yeah, I mean, yes, everything you just said, I agree.
Yeah, so Justin, props. I think you're
huge props. he makes, when you talk about just like our schedule and stuff, like personally the most difficult part for me has just been like the lack of sleep, because I get home so late, and then by the time I get home I have adrenaline running, I shower, go to bed, and then I'm up every day at 6 a.m. because I'm doing the morning shift. And like if I got more sleep I would be a totally different human being, like by far. With that said though, like I am so fortunate to have a hands-on partner, because he's the one that makes it sustainable. And I know I've told you this, but like who you marry or decide to have kids with really matters. Like I have the best teammate in Justin, and I you know him well. Like I cannot sing his praises enough. When I married him, I knew that I was not just choosing a partner for myself, but a dad for my future children. And I've always said, like, the first step to motherhood is choosing the right dad for your future children. Like that is so important. Also, I have to say, it is so underrated. Marrying someone in medicine, phenomenal decision. Like any medical question I have about the kid, like human encyclopedia in the home. But yeah, it's again, like with the scheduling stuff and logistics stuff, like I am so fortunate. It's all about perspective, right? Like there are people in the world who are really struggling with things that are not sustainable and not, able to make things happen. So all of this is doable, but I am so fortunate to be doing it with Justin by my side.
For sure. And that's the best gift we can give our children is their other parent, right? And so that's probably the most important decision we will make for our children.
Totally.
Is who their other parent is, for sure. You've mentioned this tension in the past, and you're in New York, so a big stage.
Yes.
But you've also said that you crave a quieter life. And why is that?
There is a very legitimate dichotomy of wanting the big stage, of living in New York with lots of exposure that I've worked my whole life for, selfishly, in my career. But, and exposing him to the city and whatever, but also really wanting a private life that I truly believe is better for parenting. And I struggle with this because, as you grow older, your goals evolve and all that stuff. But ultimately, like, I think that'll right itself when it's ready, because right now we are living a dream life. But my kid's not in school yet. There's so many things that are to come that those are then problems that we will figure it out.
So you think you can have both?
To an extent, yes. You know who Jonah Hill is?
Yeah.
The actor. So he, he makes millions of dollars doing what he does in Hollywood. But he lives in a super small town in San Diego called Del Mar. Like, he leads a normal life. I think he lives in Del Mar. There are people who live in the suburbs of New Jersey and Connecticut, Westchester County, but they work in Manhattan. So I do think you can have both to an extent.
Thank you for listening to the Unaparent podcast, produced by Studio Dama and hosted by me, Katia Lindor. If you like what you heard, subscribe or follow us on social media and tune in as we share deeply human stories about the unapparent truths of parenting.